Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the stars. The HFY Horizon was the newest ship in Earth's fleet. It was built for one job, to meet aliens and make friends with them. Jake had been chosen to lead this mission because he was good at talking to people and solving problems without fighting. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. Dr. Lisa Martinez sat at her science station, checking data from their sensors. She was the smartest person Jake knew, and she could figure out almost anything about alien technology. Tony Kim worked at the communications desk, listening for any signals from space. Amanda Brooks, their security chief, watched the weapon, systems that were hidden inside the ship. "Captain," Tony said, "I'm getting a signal. It's coming from the edge of this star system." Jake walked over to Tony's station. "What kind of signal?" "It's in a language I don't know, but the computer is working on it." "Wait, I think I got something." Tony's face went pale. "Sir, they're telling us to stop moving and wait. They say a fleet is coming to meet us." Through the big window at the front of the bridge, Jake could see nothing but empty space. Then, one by one, huge ships began to appear. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ships were white and silver, and they seemed to glow with their own light. There were at least 50 of them, all pointing their weapons at the small human ship. "My God," Lisa whispered, "those ships are each 3 times bigger than ours." Amanda checked her weapons. "Captain, our guns are still hidden. They can't see them. Should I get them ready?" Jake shook his head. "No, we came here to talk, not to fight. Keep them hidden for now." A new voice came through the radio. It spoke perfect English, which surprised everyone on the bridge. "Human ship, you will come with us to Kepler Prime Station. Do not try to run. Do not try to fight. You are surrounded." Jake picked up the radio. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the HFY Horizon. We come in peace. We want to talk and learn about your people." There was a long pause. Then the voice spoke again. "You will follow us. Any tricks and we will destroy you." The giant alien ships began to move, and Jake ordered his crew to follow them. It took 2 days to reach Kepler Prime. The space station was enormous, bigger than any city on Earth. It was shaped like a huge ring, spinning slowly in space. Hundreds of alien ships moved around it like busy ants. "Look at that," Lisa said, pointing at her screen. "The station is made from materials I've never seen before, and the power readings are off the charts." Jake nodded. "They've been doing this for a long time. We're the new kids here." The HFY Horizon was guided to a docking bay inside the station. As they walked through the airlock, Jake and his team got their first look at the aliens who had brought them here. The Zephyrians were tall, much taller than humans. Their skin looked like it was made of crystal, and it changed colors as they moved. They wore flowing robes and carried weapons that looked more like art than tools. The leader of the aliens stepped forward. He was bigger than the others, and his crystal skin was a deep blue color. "I am High Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire. You are the humans we have heard about." Jake extended his hand for a handshake, but Vextar just looked at it with what might have been disgust. "I am Captain Jake Morrison. We're here to meet your people and hopefully become friends." Vextar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Friends? Little human, you do not understand where you are. This sector of space belongs to the Zephyrian Empire. We have ruled here for over 3,000 years. Your tiny species has been in space for what, 50 years? "About 100 years, actually," Lisa said politely. "But yes, we're new to this part of the galaxy." They were led to a huge meeting room with a table that could seat hundreds of beings. Vextar sat on one side with dozens of other Zephyrian commanders. Jake and his small team sat on the other side, looking very small in comparison. Let me explain how this works, Vextar said, his crystal skin now glowing red. The Zephyrian Empire controls over 200 star systems. We have the strongest fleet in this part of the galaxy. When we find new species, we offer them protection. In return, they follow our rules and give us what we need. Jake nodded slowly. What kind of protection? Protection from other species who might want to hurt you. Protection from pirates and raiders. Protection from yourselves, if needed. And what do you want in return? Jake asked. Vextar smiled, showing teeth that looked like diamonds. Your solar system has many resources we can use. Your planet Earth looks like it would make a good home for some of our people. We will take care of everything. Humans will be moved to smaller worlds where you will be safe and happy. The room went quiet. Jake could feel his team getting angry, but he kept his voice calm. That's a very generous offer, but I don't think my people will want to leave Earth. It's our home. Your home? Vextar laughed again. Little human, Earth is just one small planet around one small star. The Empire has thousands of better worlds. You should be grateful. Lisa leaned forward. Commander Vextar, humans have lived on Earth for millions of years. Our entire history is there. Our families, our cities, everything we care about. Then you will learn to care about new things, Vextar said coldly. This is not a discussion. This is us telling you what will happen. Jake stood up slowly. The Zephyrian guards reached for their weapons, but Jake kept his hands where they could see them. Commander, I understand that you're trying to help us, but humans value their freedom very highly. We prefer to make our own choices. Choices? Vextar's skin turned a darker red. You think you have choices? Look around you, human. Count my ships. Count my warriors. What choices do you think you have? Jake looked directly into Vextar's glowing eyes. His voice was still calm and polite, but there was something in it that made Amanda tense up. She knew that tone. It meant her captain was getting angry, and when Jake Morrison got angry, bad things happened to his enemies. Commander Vextar, Jake said quietly, I want you to understand something very important. We came here to make friends. We brought gifts and knowledge to share. We want peace between our peoples. Good, Vextar said. Then you will accept our protection. Jake shook his head. No, we won't. And I need you to understand something else. Please don't make us angry. We really don't want any trouble, but we also won't be pushed around or told what to do. The entire room burst into laughter. The Zephyrian commanders found Jake's words so funny that some of them had tears in their crystal eyes. Vextar laughed the loudest of all. Did you hear that? Vextar said to his officers, The little human is threatening. Please don't make us angry, he says. The laughter got even louder. Jake waited for the laughter to stop. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm just asking you politely to respect our decision. We want to be friends, but we want to remain free. Vextar wiped his eyes and looked at Jake with what humans would call pity. Little human, your entire species could not defeat one of our battle groups. You have no weapons that could hurt our ships. You have no army that could stand against our forces. And you're asking us not to make you angry? He turned to his commanders. I think these humans are even weaker than we thought. They're so scared that they think begging will help them. Jake picked up the small bag he had brought with him. Inside were gifts from Earth, music, art, books, and scientific discoveries that humans wanted to share. He had hoped to give them to new friends. Instead, he put the bag back down on the table. We'll be leaving now, Jake said. We'll tell our people about your offer. They'll decide what to do. Oh, they'll decide quickly, Vextar said with a nasty smile. Because our Fleet will be visiting your solar system very soon. When they see our ships, they'll understand that resistance is useless." As Jake and his team walked back to their ship, Amanda whispered, "Captain, they have no idea what they just did, do they?" Jake's face was stone cold. "No, Amanda, they don't. But they're going to learn." 3 months had passed since Captain Jake Morrison and his team returned from their meeting with the Zephyrians. High Commander Vextar was very pleased with how things had gone. The humans had seemed scared and weak, just as he had expected. Vextar stood in his command center on the battle station Kethmer, watching reports come in from his scouts. A massive screen in front of him showed maps of human space. Red dots marked where Zephyrian ships were moving into position for the invasion. "High Commander," said his second officer, a female Zephyrian named Kelsa, "our forward scouts report that human ships are pulling back from their border worlds. Some of their colonies appear to be evacuating." Vextar's crystal skin glowed with satisfaction. "Excellent. They know we're coming, and they're already giving up. This will be even easier than I thought." "Should we speed up our attack?" asked another officer. "No," Vextar said. "Let them worry for a while longer. Fear will make them surrender faster when we finally arrive." He turned to face his officers. "Send a message to the High Council on the home world. Tell them that the human problem will be solved within the next few weeks." Meanwhile, on Earth, President Karen Walsh sat in a secure meeting room deep underground. Around the table with her were the most important military leaders of the human government. General Pete Rodriguez commanded all of Earth's armies. Admiral Susan Carter was in charge of the space fleet. Director Chris Johnson ran the intelligence services that gathered information about alien threats. "Show me the latest reports," President Walsh said. General Rodriguez opened a thick file. "Ma'am, our scouts confirm that the Zephyrian Empire is moving a massive fleet toward our space. We count over 800 ships, including some that are bigger than anything we've ever seen." Admiral Carter pulled up a holographic display that showed the entire solar system. "The good news is that Operation Silent Thunder is ready. All of our hidden defenses are in place and waiting." "How many people know about our real military strength?" the president asked. Director Johnson answered, "Outside of this room and the crews manning our hidden weapons, maybe 1,000 people in the entire human government. Everyone else thinks we're just a peaceful exploration species with basic defenses." President Walsh nodded. "Good. The longer the aliens think we're weak, the better our surprise will work." She looked around the table. "Gentlemen, lady, I want to be absolutely clear about this. We gave the Zephyrians every chance to be reasonable." Captain Morrison bent over backward to avoid a fight. "Yes, ma'am," General Rodriguez said. The captain followed the first contact protocol perfectly. He offered friendship. He showed them our peaceful intentions, and he even warned them not to push us too far. "And they laughed at him," Admiral Carter added with anger in her voice. Director Johnson opened another file. "Ma'am, I've been studying the Zephyrian Empire for months now. They've conquered dozens of species by doing exactly what they're trying to do to us. They show up with a big fleet, make demands, and most species just give up without a fight." "Most species," the president said, "but not humans. No, ma'am. Definitely not humans." President Walsh stood up and walked to a window that showed the busy streets of Washington, D.C. People were going about their normal lives, shopping and working and playing with their children. They had no idea that an alien fleet was coming to conquer them. "Have our people been evacuated from the border colonies?" she asked. "All civilian populations have been moved to safe areas," Admiral Carter confirmed. "The Zephyrians probably think we're abandoning those worlds out of fear. They don't know we're just getting our people out of the way before the shooting starts." General Rodriguez pulled up more maps. Ma'am, I have to say, this plan is either going to work perfectly or get us all killed. Explain. Well, we're betting everything on the idea that we can surprise them. If they figure out what we're really capable of before we spring the trap, they might call for reinforcements from their home worlds. Then we'd be facing thousands of ships instead of hundreds. President Walsh turned back to face her advisors. How long have humans been fighting wars, General? Since the beginning of our species, ma'am. Tens of thousands of years. And in all that time, what have we learned? General Rodriguez smiled grimly. That the best way to win a war is to make your enemy think you're weaker than you really are, and hit them so hard they never want to fight you again. Exactly. The president sat back down. The Zephyrians think they understand humans because they met Captain Narration and his crew. They saw our diplomatic ship and thought that represented our entire military capability. They have no idea what we're really like when we stop being polite. Director Johnson activated a secure communications system. Ma'am, we have a message coming in from Captain Morrison. He's requesting permission to deliver one final warning to the Zephyrians. Put him through. Jake Morrison's face appeared on the screen. He was aboard his ship, but it looked different somehow. There were new control panels, and the lighting had changed from the soft blue of a science vessel to the harsh white of a warship. Madam President, Jake said, the UES Horizon has completed its conversion to combat configuration. We're ready to make one last attempt at avoiding bloodshed. Captain, you've already tried talking to them. They made it clear they don't want to listen. Yes, ma'am, but this time will be different. This time, I'm going to show them exactly what they're dealing with. I want to give them one final chance to back down before we show them what angry humans can do. President Walsh looked at her advisors. General Rodriguez nodded. It's worth a try, Mom. If they agree to leave us alone, we won't have to reveal our true capabilities to the galaxy. Other alien species won't know how dangerous we really are. And if they don't back down? The president asked. Admiral Carter's smile was cold as ice. Then they'll learn why humans spend so much time trying to avoid a fight. They'll learn that when we say, please don't make us angry, we're not begging. We're giving them a chance to walk away before we destroy them. The president thought for a moment. Captain Morrison, you have permission to make one final diplomatic contact. But I want you to understand something. If they refuse to listen this time, you are to withdraw immediately. Do not engage their forces. Come home and let us handle the rest. Understood, ma'am, but I have one request. What is it? I want to take Colonel Danny Wright with me. He was with me during the Android War, and he understands how to talk to enemies who don't respect weakness. President Walsh nodded. Granted. Anyone else? Dr. Helen Park from the Psychological Warfare Division. If we're going to make the Zephyrians understand what they're facing, we need someone who knows how to get inside their heads. Also granted. Captain, I hope you can make them see reason. But if you can single quotes double quotes, she paused. If you can't, then God help them, because we won't. After the call ended, the president turned to her advisors. How long before our hidden fleets are in position? 48 hours, Admiral Carter said. Every asteroid base, every hidden weapons platform, every disguised warship will be ready. And the Zephyrians still don't suspect anything? Director Johnson shook his head. Their scouts report that we're retreating and evacuating. They think we're preparing to surrender. They have no idea we're preparing to fight. General Rodriguez looked at the battle plans spread across the table. Ma'am, when this is over, every alien species in the galaxy is going to know that humans are not to be messed with. The Zephyrians are going to be an example to everyone else. Good, President Walsh said. Maybe then we won't have to do this again. Maybe other aliens will choose to be our friends instead of our enemies. Far away in space, Captain Morrison was preparing for his final meeting with High Commander Vextar. His ship no longer looked like a peaceful exploration vessel. Hidden panels had opened to reveal weapons that could crack planets. Secret compartments had been converted into military command centers. The crew that had once focused on making friends with aliens was now ready for war. Dr. Lisa Martinez worked at her station, but instead of studying alien cultures, she was analyzing Zephyrian weaknesses. Tony Kim monitored communications, listening for any sign that the enemy was getting suspicious. Amanda Brooks no longer had to hide the ship's weapons. They were fully armed and ready to fire. "Captain," Amanda said, "I have to ask, do you really think they'll listen this time?" Jake Morrison looked out at the stars where Zephyrian ships were gathering for their attack on Earth. "No, Amanda, I don't think they'll listen. They're too proud and too sure of themselves. But we have to try. One more time. And if they don't listen?" Jake's expression was harder than steel. "Then they'll learn what happens when you make humans angry. They'll learn why we tried so hard to avoid this fight. And they'll spend the rest of their lives wishing they had listened to us the first time." The U.E.'s Horizon, now revealed as the warship U.E.'s Retribution, began its journey toward the Zephyrian fleet. It carried one final message of peace and the promise of war if that message was ignored. The U.E.'s Retribution approached the Zephyrian border fortress of Kethmer. The massive space station hung in space like a metal moon, surrounded by hundreds of alien warships. Captain Jake Morrison stood on his bridge, watching the enemy fleet that was preparing to attack his home world. "They've gotten bigger," Dr. Lisa Martinez observed, looking at her sensors. "I count at least 200 more ships than they had 3 months ago." Colonel Danny Wright, a veteran of humanity's bloodiest wars, studied the enemy formations. "They're not even trying to hide their numbers. They want us to see how powerful they are." Dr. Helen Park, the psychological warfare expert, was analyzing the alien communications. "Captain, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. They want every ship in this area to know they're about to crush the human species." Jake nodded grimly. "Then let's give them something to broadcast about." The U.E.S. Retribution sent the message to the Zephyrian Command Center. "This is Captain Jake Morrison requesting permission to speak with High Commander Vextar. I have an important message from the human government." The reply came quickly. "Little human, you returned to beg for mercy? How amusing. The High Commander will see you, but only so he can watch you grovel before we destroy your pathetic species." As the human ship approached the docking bay, Jake noticed something that made him smile coldly. The Zephyrians had positioned their most powerful battleships around the station, trying to intimidate him. They wanted him to feel small and helpless. "Amanda," he said to his security chief, "are you recording everything?" "Yes, sir. Every ship, every weapon, every defensive position. Command is going to love this intelligence." The human delegation walked through the station's corridors, escorted by Zephyrian guards. The aliens had decorated the walls with images of their past conquests, dozens of species that had surrendered to the Empire's might. Jake studied each image carefully, memorizing the faces of beings who had given up without a fight. High Commander. Vextar waited in the same meeting room where they had met before, but this time he had invited an audience. Hundreds of Zephyrian officers filled the chamber, all eager to see the human surrender. "Captain Morrison," Vextar said with mock politeness, "how good of you to return. Have you come to discuss the terms of your surrender?" Jake sat down across from the alien commander. His team took their positions behind him. Colonel Wright, standing at attention like a soldier, Dr. Park taking notes like a scientist, and Dr. Martinez operating a small device that recorded everything. "High Commander, I've come to give you information about the human species. Information that might change your mind about attacking us. Vextar's crystal skin glowed with amusement. What could you possibly tell me that would matter? We have studied your species. You are weak. You avoid conflict. You prefer to talk rather than fight. These are the qualities of prey, not predators. Jake opened a case and pulled out a small device. May I show you something? The device projected a holographic display in the center of the room. Images began to appear, pictures from human history that made the Zephyrian audience gasp in shock. The first image showed a battlefield from World War I. Millions of human soldiers faced each other across a wasteland of mud and barbed wire. The ground was covered with bodies. This was called the Great War, Jake said calmly. In 4 years, humans killed 20 million of our own species. We used poison gas, machine guns, and artillery that could be heard from 100 miles away. The next image showed a city destroyed by an atomic bomb. Buildings had been turned to ash, and the ground was burned black. This is what we did to our own cities when we invented nuclear weapons. In one day, we killed 200,000 people. With a single bomb, we built enough of these weapons to destroy our entire planet. Vextar was no longer smiling. These are tricks. Computer graphics. You're trying to frighten us with fake images. Colonel Wright stepped forward. High Commander, I fought in the Android War 20 years ago. Machines that we created tried to wipe out humanity. We destroyed them by burning entire continents. I personally ordered the nuclear bombardment of Australia to stop the android factories there. Dr. Park activated her own device. Commander, these are medical records from human hospitals. In our history, we have suffered through wars where we used biological weapons against our own species. Diseases that killed millions. Chemical weapons that blinded entire armies. More images appeared in the hologram. Humans fighting humans with weapons that seemed impossible. Space battles where human fleets destroyed each other among the stars. Planets that had been bombed until nothing lived on them. In our short history, Jake continued, we have killed over 3 billion of our own kind in warfare. We have fought wars that lasted decades. We have battles that involved billions of soldiers. We have weapons that can crack planets and poison stars. The room was completely silent now. Even the guards had stopped moving. We learned to make peace, Jake said, because we know exactly what war costs. When we explored space, we decided that we never wanted to fight another species the way we fought ourselves. We chose diplomacy because we understand the alternative. Vextar's skin had turned a pale gray color. You're lying. If humans were so violent, so dangerous, we would have detected it. Our intelligence services would have warned us. Dr. Martinez smiled for the first time since entering the room. Commander, what did you think you were detecting? Did you scan our exploration ships and find only scientific equipment? Did your spies report that human colonies were protected by only light defenses? Yes, Vextar said, but his voice was less confident than before. What you detected, Jake said, was what we wanted you to detect. Every human ship has weapons hidden in compartments that look like laboratories. Every human colony has defense systems built into structures that appear to be farms or factories. Every human diplomatic mission is also a military intelligence operation. Colonel Wright pulled up a new set of images. High Commander, this is what our real military looks like. The hologram showed massive human battleships emerging from what appeared to be empty space. Asteroid fields that suddenly bristled with weapons. Planets that revealed planetary defense cannons capable of destroying entire fleets. We didn't hide our weapons because we were afraid, Jake explained. We hid them because we hoped we would never need to use them. We tried to give you a chance to be our friends instead of our enemies. Dr. Park stood up and walked closer to Vextar. Commander, your species has conquered other races by intimidating them with your superior technology and numbers. But you've only fought species that were weaker than you. You've never faced a species that was stronger, but chose to appear weak. That's impossible, Vextar whispered. Our fleet is the most powerful in this sector of the galaxy. Jake stood up and looked directly into the alien commander's eyes. High Commander, 3 months ago, I sat in this room and asked you politely to leave us alone. I told you that we didn't want any trouble. I warned you not to make us angry. You were begging, Vextar said, but his voice shook. No, Jake said quietly. I was giving you a chance to walk away. I was offering you the opportunity to avoid learning what angry humans are capable of. Colonel Wright activated his own communicator. Captain, I'm receiving a priority message from Earth Command. Jake listened to the message, then looked back at Vextar. High Commander, our discussion time is over. My government has authorized me to give you one final warning. The hologram changed to show the Zephyrian fleet surrounding the station. But now, new images appeared. Human ships decloaking around the alien vessels. Weapons platforms emerging from asteroids. Defense stations that had been hidden in empty space suddenly becoming visible. Your invasion fleet is already surrounded, Jake said. Human forces have been moving into position for weeks. We know the location of every one of your ships. We have weapons aimed at all of them. Vextar stared at the display in horror. That's impossible. Our sensors would have detected you. Your sensors detected what we wanted them to detect. Nothing more. Dr. Park smiled coldly. Commander, human military doctrine is based on 3,000 years of warfare against our own species. We have learned that the best way to win a battle is to make your enemy think they're fighting someone else entirely. Jake picked up his case and prepared to leave. High Commander, I'm going to ask you one more time. Please don't make us angry. Call off your invasion. Take your fleet and go home. Forget you ever heard of the human species. Vextar's skin was now flashing between different colors, confusion, fear, and anger. You think you can threaten the Zephyrian Empire? We have ruled this sector for 3,000 years. And in 3,000 years, Jake said, how many species have you conquered that were actually stronger than you? Vextar had no answer. Jake walked toward the door, then turned back one final time. High Commander, we really don't want to fight you. We came here hoping to be friends. We've shown you respect and offered you peace. But if you force us to choose between our freedom and your conquest, we will choose our freedom. Every time. Wait. Vextar called out. If you're so powerful, why haven't you conquered us? Why did you come here talking about peace and friendship? Jake paused at the doorway. Because, High Commander, we remember what it was like when we were conquerors. We? Rem. High Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Sovereign Glory. Around him, his officers prepared for what they believed would be an easy victory over the human species. Despite the disturbing images Captain Morrison had shown them, Vextar had convinced himself that the humans were still bluffing. All ships report ready for hyperspace jump, announced his navigation officer. Excellent, Vextar said, his crystal skin glowing with confidence he didn't entirely feel. Today, the Zephyrian Empire adds another species to our collection. These humans will learn the price of defying us. The 800 ships of the Zephyrian invasion fleet activated their hyperspace drives and disappeared from normal space. They were heading for Earth's solar system, expecting to find a few scattered defense ships and a quick surrender. Meanwhile, in the Sol system, Admiral Susan Carter stood in the command center on Luna Base, watching her displays with grim satisfaction. Every human ship, every hidden weapon, every trap they had spent months preparing was ready and waiting. Admiral, reported her tactical officer, long-range sensors detect the Zephyrian fleet approaching. They'll drop out of hyperspace in approximately 10 minutes. All stations, this is Admiral Carter. Operation Silent Thunder is now active. All units maintain stealth until my signal. General Pete Rodriguez joined her at the main display. Susan, I have to admit, I'm curious to see their faces when they realize what they've walked into. It's not going to be pretty, Pete. These beings have never faced real opposition before. They're about to learn what happens when you threaten humanity's home. Colonel Danny Wright, who had returned from his mission with Captain Morrison, was coordinating with the asteroid belt defense stations. Admiral, all mining platforms report they're ready to reveal their true nature. The Zephyrians are going to be very surprised when those civilian installations start shooting back. Dr. Helen Park was monitoring alien communications from her position in the intelligence center. Admiral, I'm picking up their fleet communications. They're very confident. They're already discussing how to divide up Earth's resources. Let them talk, Admiral Carter said coldly. They'll change their tune soon enough. The moment arrived. 800 Zephyrian warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, expecting to find a small, frightened human defense. Forced out instead, they found themselves in the middle of the most comprehensive military trap in galactic history. Vextar stared at his sensor displays in growing horror. Where his intelligence reports had told him to expect empty space, he found thousands of human defense platforms. The asteroid belt, which was supposed to be a mining operation, suddenly revealed itself to be the largest weapons array ever constructed. Impossible, he whispered. Where did all these ships come from? His sensor officer's voice shook as he delivered his report. High Commander, I'm detecting over 5,000 human vessels. They've been hidden throughout the system using some kind of stealth technology we've never seen before. The planet Mars, which had appeared to be a simple human colony, suddenly bristled with planetary defense cannons that dwarfed the weapons. On Zephyrian battleships, the gas giants Jupiter and Saturn revealed massive fleets of warships that had been hiding in their magnetic fields. How is this possible? Vextar demanded. Our scouts reported this system was lightly defended. Sir, his intelligence officer said nervously, I think our scouts saw exactly what the humans wanted them to see. Admiral Carter opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian fleet. Her image appeared on screens throughout the alien fleet. A middle-aged human woman with gray hair and cold blue eyes. High Commander Vextar, this is Admiral Susan Carter of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered human space with hostile intent. You have threatened our worlds and our people. You have ignored our attempts at peaceful resolution. Vextar activated his own communicator. Admiral Carter, you cannot threaten us with illusions and holograms. The Zephyrian Empire will not be intimidated by your tricks. Admiral Carter smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. High Commander, these are not illusions. Would you like use to demonstrate? Before Vextar could respond, Carter gave a simple command. All units begin demonstration alpha. Throughout the Sol system, human weapons platforms activated in perfect coordination. They didn't target the Zephyrian ships directly. Instead, they aimed at empty space around the alien fleet. The demonstration was terrifying. Asteroid-sized chunks of rock simply vanished as human weapons turned them into dust. Energy beams that could be seen from millions of miles away carved through empty space, showing the Zephyrians exactly what would happen if those weapons were aimed at their ships. My God, whispered Vextar's weapons officer. Those energy readings are off our scales. Each of those shots could destroy one of our battleships. Colonel Wright, now serving as tactical coordinator aboard the command ship UES Vengeance, spoke directly to the Zephyrian fleet. High Commander, what you just witnessed was a small sample of human defensive capability. We could have targeted your ships instead of empty space. We chose not to because we still hope to resolve this peacefully. Vexstar's crystal skin had turned completely gray with fear, but his pride would not let him surrender. You think you can frighten us with a light show? The Zephyrian Empire has conquered hundreds of worlds. Yes, Admiral Carter replied calmly. But you conquered worlds that couldn't fight back. Today, you face a species that has spent 3,000 years learning how to kill each other efficiently. We are very good at it. The human admiral activated another display that showed detailed scans of every Zephyrian ship. High Commander, our sensors have identified the exact location of your command centers, your weapon systems, your life support, and your hyperspace drives. We know which ships carry your senior officers and which ones have the largest crews. General Rodriguez joined the communication from his position on Earth. High Commander, human military doctrine is simple. We gather intelligence, we prepare thoroughly, and then we strike with overwhelming force. You walked into a trap that we've been preparing for months. Dr. Helen Park's voice came through the communication system, cold and clinical. Commander, Vexstar, psychological analysis of your species indicates that you respond to displays of superior power. Allow me to show you exactly how outmatched you are. The space around the Zephyrian fleet suddenly filled with human warships as thousands of vessels dropped their stealth fields. Ships that dwarfed the largest Zephyrian dreadnoughts appeared from nowhere. Battle stations that had been disguised as communication satellites revealed their true nature. This is impossible, Vexstar said, but his voice had lost all confidence. Where were you hiding all these ships? Captain Morrison's voice joined the conversation from his position aboard the UES Retribution. High Commander, remember when I visited your station and showed you images of human history? Did you think those were just stories? You showed us. Wars between humans, Vexstar replied weakly. Yes, wars where we developed the technology you're seeing now. Wars where we learned to hide entire fleets in empty space. Wars where we built weapons that could destroy planets. Morrison's voice was completely calm, which somehow made it more frightening. We fought ourselves for 3,000 years. High Commander, we learned every possible way to kill an enemy, and now you've made yourself our enemy. The tactical display showed the true scope of the human trap. Every Zephyrian ship was surrounded by at least 10 human vessels. Every escape route was blocked. Every possible defensive position was covered by human weapons. Admiral Carter continued her explanation. High Commander, every mining operation you detected was actually a weapons platform. Every research station was a military base. Every civilian transport was a disguised warship. We've been preparing for this moment since the day we first met your people. Vexstar looked around his bridge at his terrified officers. His communications officer was trying to contact the Zephyrian home worlds for reinforcements, but human jamming systems were blocking all long-range signals. His weapons officer reported that human ships had targeting locks on every vital system of every Zephyrian vessel. What do you want? Vexstar finally asked. We want you to go home, Admiral Carter said simply. We want you to leave human space and never come back. We want you to tell your empire the humans are not interested in being conquered. And if we refuse? Colonel Wright answered that question. High Commander, in 6 hours, we have completely neutralized the most powerful invasion fleet the Zephyrian Empire has ever assembled. We did it without firing a single shot at your ships. We could have destroyed your entire fleet in the first minute, but we chose to demonstrate our capability instead. You're bluffing, Vexstar said, but even he didn't believe it anymore. Admiral, Carter's expression didn't change. All units begin demonstration beta. This time, the human fleet didn't target empty space. They targeted the Zephyrian ships directly, but with weapons set to disable rather than destroy. Precise energy beams cut through alien shields like they weren't there. Electromagnetic pulses shut down Zephyrian weapon systems. Tractor beams grabbed enemy ships and held them motionless in less than 10 minutes. Every single Zephyrian vessel was completely helpless. Their weapons were awfully. 2 weeks had passed since the Battle of Sol, as historians would later call it. High Commander Vexstar sat in comfortable quarters aboard the human ship UES Vengeance, looking out at the stars through a large window. He was a prisoner, but the humans treated him better than he had ever treated his own captives. The door chimed softly, and Dr. Lisa Martinez entered carrying a tray of food and a data tablet. Over the past 2 weeks, she had visited him daily, not as an interrogator, but as a teacher helping him understand the species he had so badly misjudged. "Good morning, Commander," she said politely, setting the tray on a small table. "I brought you some Earth food to try. Captain Morrison thought you might enjoy human cuisine." Vexstar looked at the food with curiosity rather than suspicion. In 2 weeks of captivity, the humans had never tried to harm him or any of his crew. "Dr. Martinez, may I ask you something?" "Of course. Why are you being so kind to us?" "We came to conquer your people. We threatened to take your home world." In Zephyrian culture, prisoners of war are not treated as guests. Lisa sat down across from him. "Commander, that's exactly why we're treating you this way. We want to show you that there's a different way to handle conflicts." She activated her data tablet and showed him images from human history. But these were different from the war images Captain Morrison had shown at their last meeting. These pictures showed former enemies working together, building things instead of destroying them. "After our Second World War," Lisa explained, "humans learned something important. We learned that defeating your enemy is only the first step. The real victory comes when you turn that enemy into a friend." Vexstar studied the images. "These show humans working with other humans who had been their enemies?" "Yes. Nations that had fought terrible wars against each other became allies and partners. We learned that the strongest peace comes not from crushing your enemies, but from showing them a better way to live." The door chimed again, and Captain Morrison entered. Vexstar noticed that the human captain looked tired but not angry. There was no hatred in his eyes, only a kind of sadness. "Commander Vexstar," Morrison said, sitting down at the table, "President Walsh has asked me to discuss your future with you. Are you going to execute me?" Vexstar asked. Morrison looked surprised. "Execute you?" "Commander, we're going to send you home." "Home?" "Back to your people, back to your empire, with a message from humanity to your leaders." Vexstar's crystal skin flickered with confusion. "I don't understand. We attacked you. We tried to conquer you. In Zephyrian law, the penalty for such failure would be death." Dr. Martinez leaned forward. "Commander, that's exactly the problem. Your empire rules through fear and punishment. When someone fails, you destroy them. When someone opposes you, you crush them. You've never learned that there's another way." Morrison activated a communication device. "Commander, I want you to speak with someone." The device projected a hologram of President Karen Walsh. Even though she was just an image, her presence filled the room with quiet authority. "High Commander Vexstar," the president said, "I hope you've been treated well during your stay with you. Better than I deserve," Vexstar admitted. "Commander, you deserve to be treated with dignity because you're a living being with thoughts and feelings. That's something every creature deserves, regardless of whether they're friend or enemy." President Walsh's image moved closer to the table. "Commander, I'm going to tell you something that may shock you. Humanity has no interest in conquering the Zephyrian Empire." Vexstar's skin flashed with surprise. "But you defeated us completely. You could take our worlds, our resources, our people. Yes, we could, but we won't. Do you know why? No, I don't understand your people at all. The president smiled, and it was a kind smile, not the cold expression of a conqueror. Because we remember what it was like when we were conquerors. We remember what we did to our own world when we thought that might made right. We learned that taking things by force doesn't make you strong. It makes you weak. Morrison pulled up new images on his tablet. Commander, let me show you what human space really looks like. The images showed human colonies throughout the galaxy. But they weren't military bases or weapons factories. They were cities full of families, schools where children learned, hospitals where the sick were healed, and research stations where scientists studied the mysteries of the universe. This is what we're protecting, Morrison said. Not territory or resources or power. We're protecting the right of beings to live their lives in peace, to raise their children without fear, to explore and learn and grow. Dr. Martinez added another image to the display. Commander, we've studied your empire's history. You've conquered over 200 species in 3,000 years. But what have you actually accomplished? What have you built? What have you created? Vexstar thought about the question. The Zephyrian Empire was vast and powerful, but most of that power was used to control the species they had conquered. They built weapons and warships and prisons, but very little that actually improved life for anyone. We maintained order, he said weakly. Order through fear, President Walsh said. Order through force. Order that requires constant violence to maintain. Commander, that's not strength. That's weakness. Morrison stood up and walked to the window. Commander, do you know what real strength is? Real strength is being powerful enough to destroy your enemies, but choosing instead to help them become better than they were. I don't understand. We're going to send you home, Commander. We're going to release your entire fleet and all your crews. We're going to give you medical supplies and food for your journey. And we're going to send a message to your empire. Dr. Martinez handed Vexstar a data crystal. This contains everything we've learned about the galaxy during our short time in space. Scientific discoveries, technological innovations, cultural studies of dozens of species. We're giving it to you freely. Why? Vexstar whispered. President. Walsh answered. Because we want your empire to see what's possible when you choose cooperation over conquest. We want you to show your people that there's a better way to be powerful. Morrison returned to the table. Commander, we're also offering something else. If the Zephyrian Empire is willing to abandon its policy of forced conquest, humanity will share our military technology with you. Vexstar's skin flashed bright yellow with shock. You would give us weapons that could be used against you? No, Morrison said with a slight smile. We would give you weapons that could be used to protect the species you've already conquered. Weapons to defend them from other threats, not to conquer new victims. The choice is yours, President Walsh said. Your empire can continue trying to rule through fear and force, or you can join us in building something better. A galaxy where species work together instead of destroying each other. Dr. Martinez pulled up one final image. It showed a space station where dozens of different alien species work together on scientific projects. Commander, this is what we're building. Not an empire, but a community. Not subjects, but partners. Vexstar stared at the image for a long time. What makes? You think my people will listen to me? What makes you think they'll change? Morrison's expression became serious. Because they'll have seen what happened to your fleet when you attacked us. They'll know that we could have destroyed every one of your ships, but we chose not to. They'll understand that our offer of friendship comes from a position of strength, not weakness. And if they refuse, if they try to attack you again, President Walsh's voice became firm. Then they'll learn that our mercy has limits. We hope they'll choose friendship. But if they choose war, they'll discover that what you experienced was just a small demonstration of human capability. The communication ended, and Vextar sat in silence for several minutes. Everything he had believed about power and strength and conquest had been turned upside down. "Dr. Martinez," he finally said, "may I ask you one more question?" "Of course." "When Captain Morrison warned us not to make humans angry, he really was trying to save us, wasn't he?" Lisa nodded. "Yes, Commander. He was trying to save both our species from a war that would benefit no one." Vextar looked out at the stars where his fleet was being repaired by human engineers. "We thought his warning was a sign of weakness. It was actually a sign of wisdom," Morrison said. "The wisdom that comes from understanding the true cost of war." 3 days later, the Zephyrian fleet departed human space. Their ships had been repaired, their crews had been fed and treated with respect, and their commander carried a message that would change the galaxy forever. As Vextar's flagship jumped into hyperspace, he looked back at the Sol system one last time. He finally understood what Captain Morrison had been trying to tell him. "Please don't make us angry," wasn't a plea for mercy. It was a final kindness offered by a species strong enough to destroy their enemies, but wise enough to prefer making friends. The message Vextar carried to the Zephyrian Empire was simple. When the humans say, "Please don't make us angry," listen to them. They're trying to save your life. Within a year, the Zephyrian Empire had signed a mutual defense pact with humanity. Other species throughout the galaxy received the same choice the Zephyrians had been given: join the growing community of free worlds, or face the consequences of choosing conquest over cooperation. Mo.